Well, hello, church. It's Pastor Jeremy coming to you from the parsonage with another daily devotion. Today, we continue our tour of the stained glass windows at Street United Methodist Church as we continue to learn about the life of the apostle called Simon Peter. Now, Simon Peter is the most well known of all the 12 apostles. The Gospels tell more stories about Peter, and Jesus has more conversations with Peter than any of the other disciples. One of the most famous stories comes from Matthew chapter 14. The story goes that one day Jesus needs a little more time alone to pray, so he sends the disciples on ahead in a boat. As the disciples are crossing the lake, the sky grows dark and the wind begins to blow. Their boat is battered by the waves, and try as they might, they can't steer any closer to land. All night long, the boat is tossed about until the disciples think they're going to die. And then early in the morning, they see what looks like a person walking towards them through the waves. Exhausted and terrified, the disciples are afraid that an evil spirit has come to claim their lives. And then a familiar voice calls out, "Take heart," Jesus says. "It is I. Do not be afraid." Well, Peter speaks up first, which is usually the case. "Lord," he says, "if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says, "Come." So Peter gets out of the boat, starts walking on the water, and comes toward Jesus. But when he notices a strong wind, he becomes frightened, and beginning to sink, he cries out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reaches out his hand and catches Peter, saying to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they get in the boat, the wind ceases. And growing up, I heard a lot of sermons about this story. Maybe you have too. And the message of those sermons was almost always the same. Just have faith like Peter, the preacher would say, and you can do anything. You can walk on any sea. You can overcome any storm. Just have faith in Jesus like Peter did. And that's usually the way we tell this story. But one day I heard a preacher give this story a whole new twist. One day I heard a preacher say, "We've been getting this story wrong all along." If you read this story carefully, you discover that it's not about the faith of Peter at all. In this story, what we see in Peter is a lack of faith. When Jesus says, "It is I, do not be afraid," Peter refuses to take his word for it. Peter asks for proof and puts Jesus to the test. And none of this should be surprising. One thing the Gospels show us over and over again is Peter's struggle to believe in Jesus. Peter was the one who refused to listen when Jesus started talking about the cross. Peter was the one who caused Jesus to say, "Get behind me, Satan." And Peter was the one who denied Jesus 3 times. Peter was the one who got out of the boat when the sensible and faithful thing to do would have been to stay inside. The remarkable thing about this story is that even as he is unbelieving, Peter is able to walk on water. And even as he is unbelieving, Jesus comes to rescue him. Peter struggles to believe in Jesus, and Jesus more than meets him halfway. Now, this way of looking at the story makes it more inspiring, not less. When you look up at this window and see Peter's feet standing on a wave, remember that even though faith is hard some days, and even though we all have moments when we say to Jesus, "Is it really you? Are you really there?" Even in those moments, Jesus doesn't give up on us. He continues to speak to us. He continues to come to us. And even when we doubt, he continues to work miracles through us. Would you pray with me? God of peace, you are greater than every stormy sea. Meet us more than halfway, because without your grace, we are like fishermen trying to walk on water. Through Christ, who never gives up on us. Amen. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. You can find a new devotion right here each day at noon. Until we meet again, keep washing your hands, keep wearing your mask, and do not be afraid.